Hello and welcome to Big Little Bus Ministry. Thanks for tuning in. I'm very excited to have my good friend here, Brother Eric Perez, on the channel today, and we're going to be interviewing him and gleaning some wisdom from him. We've known, let's see, Brother Perez, how far back have we known? I'm trying to think, 2012 or 13? Way back when we were doing our radio broadcasts, I think it's some of the first time, I think Twitterland is when we first got to meet you. And then you've been out to our church several times. You finished your college degree at our college. You've preached at our church for some conferences. You're at our bus conference a couple years ago, preached. And you've always been an inspiration to me. Your desire to impact on other people's lives and to be invested in the bus ministry, following you on social media over the years and getting to see all the crazy things that you've done on the bus ministry. And, it's been an encouragement, and I want to be able to give some of that information to other people, some of the things that maybe you have learned. And, so I guess I gave you a little bit of a background, but I'm going to let you kind of open it up and kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Obviously my name is Eric Perez. Known you guys for years. I don't know the exact date. I would have to look at my diary. But anyways, you guys have been a blessing to me, you and Pastor Reeves. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Just you need just a testimony?
Sure.
Brief testimony of just how I got to know the Lord January 27, 1990 at a youth conference. It was Pastor Bruce Goddard preaching Intent Revival. I was one of those kids that, got saved a million times. And I know you only get saved once, but I settled it January 27, 1990. Right. And then from then forward, I, was doing good and living for the Lord, and went to Bible college at Howes Anderson College. And that's where I learned the bus ministry. I had no clue about the bus ministry until I went to Howes Anderson College. Man, they got me, Brother Ray Young, and I remember all those bus kids at the college chapel, and it just breaks your heart, seeing them there and all that. So it was a bus kid, and it was a burrito that brought me to the bus route. They introduced me to Chicago's burritos. But I learned the bus ministry through that. I'll never forget that. I still have the memory of like over 200 plus buses on the freeway just passing by, and everywhere I looked, I saw someone jumping or preaching or, swallowing something or singing. And it was the most craziest thing, but it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'll never forget that picture of seeing all those buses just go by. And to me, I felt like we were just going straight to heaven. It was just a sight. I'd never seen such a ministry. And, ever since then, fell in love with the bus ministry. I like to say, what does it say? Put a cookie in their stomach and Jesus in their heart. You just love them. Mm-hmm. And it's been addicting. It's been really addicting. It's not easy. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I wanted to quit. We get those days, but it's so rewarding. You love those kids and all that, and I've just been addicted since. And so,
I had Brother Joel Fugit on the channel a little while ago, and one of the things that he said, you can quit on Sunday night as long as you re-enlist on Monday morning. Yes. And I said that's about how the bus ministry feels sometimes. You get done with it, you're like, I quit. But it's definitely rewarding when you do it from with a heart to serve others and for the Lord, and you just keep investing. I guess we'll just jump right into this. The first question that I had, I know that you have done some big, exciting, off-the-wall promotions over the years, and I don't even know all the ones that you've done. I know I've stolen a couple of the ones that you've done. But what would you say are some of the best promotions that you've done for really putting on and having a big day?
So I have my favorites, but I guess the best one would always, that's really worked for us, was always been the carnival or the fair. That was always a huge day. That was always the best one. We go all out. Sometimes we get animals, petting zoo and stuff like that.
Wow.
And we, donkey tank, and then all the cotton candy and stuff like that. We use, I hate saying use, but Brother Mitchell would help us out a lot on that. And he's in the ministry of doing all those bounce houses. And
Right.
we'd set all of it up. And there's a blessing. And we do that one. So we do a carnival Sunday or a fair Sunday. That was one of the biggest. I like my favorite. I don't know why, but I love Hayride Sunday.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love Hayride Sunday. That's my favorite. I guess because I'm originally from California and coming to Michigan and the cider mill and the harvest and all that and cider and donuts and all that. To me, that was new. And I'm a city kid, so
Sure.
I think I'm saying hay wrong. Some people say it's straw. I don't know.
Hey,
Hay,
we
straw,
call it
whatever
we
you
call it
want.
hay.
But
So do you drive the tractor?
no, so like I said, I'm pretty ghetto. So what we do is I get the hay and we put it inside the bus. We put it inside the bus.
Okay.
It's pretty nuts. But no, if you have a tractor, that's probably the best way to do it. And the reason is I've learned because when you do it in the bus, you got some people with asthma and stuff like that, and it's hard for them to breathe. And kids go nuts once you do
Yeah.
it. But there's so many games you can pull. Oh, it's fun. There's so many games you can play with that too. And Hayride Sunday, filling the bus worker full of hay, and trying to find a bus worker, and I mean it can be so much fun. Of course, the hardest is cleaning the bus. It takes all the way till Sunday night to clean it.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorites. But you can do it in the tractor and all that. Kids love that. They'll never forget that. And then I like the one I was talking to you a while ago was the blow up the one, Cash Me Outside.
Yes.
That one was fun. That one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for people who haven't seen that, explain how exactly that works.
So you get these inflatables, and you can get them from Amazon, I believe, and it's basically like a fat suit, and you put them on, and anyways, they blow up, and what happens is you promote it and say, if you bring a visitor, you get to go, so many feet closer to trying to catch the guy in the bus worker in the big suit, and what we do is we take money on them, and all the bus workers will pitch in money on the bus route. And I mean, you get a bunch of ones, of course, to make it look intriguing, but then there's some fives and tens, and you tape it all over them. And then what happens is you set them up and you say go, and they run off and try to catch the bus. We're going to catching the money off him and all that. And we call that Cash Me Outside. But that is so much fun, and the kids have a blast. That would turn out to be a great day and a lot of fun.
That sounds like a blast. That's one of the ones that I've got on the list for us to do down the road. It reminds me of one that when I was little, I was just riding the bus with my parents. My brother, I don't remember who came up with the idea. It's probably my dad, but it was the Human Candy Man Sunday, and my brother was like probably 14 or 15, and my dad gave him one of his pairs of sweatpants, and it was like way too big, and he filled it with candy.
Oh, wow.
And tied like around the ankles down so that the candy wouldn't go through, and then he made him run, and basically the bus kids had to run after him and get all the candy. It sort of ended up being hilarious because all the candy just sort of bagged down around his ankles, so it just looked like he had really, really big ankles. And it was pretty funny, but it was one of those things that you just never forget. Those promotions, they're like that. You just never forget them. Yeah,
that was awesome. There's I tell you the one too. I like we did TP Sunday. That was fun. We just toilet paper. We got the buses together and we just TP'd the buses, and it ended up being like kids TPing each other and workers and all that. And I told you that story where the bus kids were like, after we were done, we were throwing away the toilet paper, and the bus kids would run and grab it and say, "No, this is the good stuff," and they would take it home because it was Charmin and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But that one was fun. And then there's the largest slip and slide. I like that one. That one's a good day. And we just have a piece of plastic, from Home Depot, Menards, whatever you guys have, and just pull it out and just water and soap and have a blast and slide down. So those are some good, fun promotions. I could go on and on. There's so many.
It really is. Especially, I'm imagining you could think of tons because you've been doing it for so many years. But those are great ideas. Those are fantastic ideas. And one of the things that's really helped me with finding promotion ideas is really talking to other bus captains or bus directors, because everybody does things a little bit different. Even if they might have the same name per se, it might be done totally different. And so that's helped me a lot. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to get some ideas from you. And those are a lot of those are rather inexpensive. They're not, you don't have to break the bank for those things. So I'll move along to the next question. What would you say is the most important key when it comes to building a bus route? I know you probably can't necessarily get it down to just one thing, but if you could give just one key, one of the most important things, what would you say that is in order to have a successful bus ministry?
Well, obviously, number one is definitely your walk with God. I mean, it's definitely got to be a walk with God. You could do it so robotic and think, because of your personality or whatever and charisma. And I've seen some bus workers that have had that. And but if you don't have a walk with God, you can only go so far. But your walk with God, but definitely prayer. I mean, pray. I mean, there was times where I'd go after work and I'll talk about college days. I remember we worked till like 1 or 2 out at Estes or Chicago somewhere. Then we drive to the bus route 2 a.m. and we walk our bus route in Chicago. And I don't mean to sound pharisaical or anything like that. And you could say whatever you want, but we had some big days. But there's time we take off our shoes. I mean, that was holy ground to us. And we take off our shoes and we'd walk our bus route and pray for our kids. I mean, you're talking hours. And then go to the church. We go to the church, open the doors and pray in the altar. I go on the bus. I'd walk in the bus and I'd pray. I'd walk in each seat and pray. I believe prayer is the most powerful tool. You could work. Obviously, number 3 would be work, and you could knock as much as you want and everything. But if you don't have God, if you don't have the power of God, I believe it won't. You can only go so far. It won't work. But I've learned there'll be times where I've knocked and just no response and all that. And I would get so discouraged thinking, like everybody was all excited, big day, and I'm in the bus director at the time. I had to pump everybody up. And then I'd close the office and I'd cry because I'd think, man, Lord, I didn't have a good response, Saturday and Friday or whatever. And I don't know how many kids are going to come. And I said, Lord, I need you. And Lord would bless. And they just come out of nowhere. And the kids that never show up would come, but I would definitely say prayer. And then the last one obviously is work. The Bible says in all labor there's profit. You got to work. It's more than just an hour or 2. I mean, in college we learned to do it, for 6-7 hours, and sometimes you got to go that way and take some days off of work. I mean, how bad do you want it? We take some days off of work. And we knock some doors and just promote, talk about it. If you're having a carnival that month, bring it up, 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time and promote it. And then last, I'd say Takis. There's something very spiritual with those Takis. There's very powerful
in the seasoning. I don't know what it is.
Those things, man. I can get kids to do anything for those things. So they bring business. I'll tell them, you bring somebody, I'll give you a bag of Takis, and man, they bring their mom, their dad, their grandpa.
Endorsed by the bus ministry.
So
I think Takis are our generation of what hot dogs were or tacos were back in the day. But,
yeah.
But no, that's great. Too often I think those who are used to being in the bus ministry for years kind of look over just the power of having a walk with God, waking up and having devotions and making sure that you're right with God, you're living right, and then praying. One of the things that we do at our bus ministry here is we hand out every month a list of all the kids and riders that have been on our bus for that previous month, and it says the month of whatever it might be prayer list, and I do that to really encourage myself to pray for these kids, because sometimes I think, hey, they're there, and then we invest in them, and then we say bye, and we'll see them next week or sometime during the week. But the power of prayer, we forget that, and it's not spooky. Right. It's just something that I think we overlook sometimes because maybe because we're working hard. Sometimes I think those that don't work hard definitely aren't going to pray hard. So, and then working hard. People. I think most bus ministries, they probably fail because they're not just worked. People aren't willing to put in the elbow grease.
Right.
So, but. Yeah, those I guess you could say the top three or big three of the bus ministry, really.
Okay.
Let me go to the third question that I have, and this is one I'm interested to hear because I feel like it's one that I more struggle with over the years. Maybe it's because I'm going to say because I'm closer in age to them, but how would you say that you can appeal or get teenagers to ride your bus, even maybe just visitors or even faithfully? Over the years, I've seen pictures of your bus routes and who you invest in, and very oftentimes there's a lot of teenagers, not just 6, 7, 8-year-olds. And I just want to glean some of maybe your insight into that. How do you get those teenagers to be to have a desire to be on that bus?
Right. Okay, I'm going to go back to, again, number one. And sorry, got a visitor over here. Oh my God. Number one is definitely I still pray, and here's what I'm talking about. It breaks my heart. You bring these kids, and it. You bring these kids, and they're so excited. I mean, they'll be out there, and they're excited, and they ask you what they're going to do and all that, and they start growing and growing. And as soon as they become teenagers, they don't have the interest anymore.
Right.
And man, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I could just think of names after names, and it would bother me. And I learned to just take it to God and say, God, I would just almost, it's like I'm wrestling God, just saying, God, please just give them to me. Give me their hearts. Obviously I want them to have, the heart of God and all that stuff. But it's just, they lose interest when they become teenagers. The world is just, especially nowadays with social media and everything, just got them distracted like crazy. But you'll be amazed. Just once again, the power of prayer is just, it just blows me away, because there'll be some weeks where I just pray, I just spend a little bit more time, and they'll just come and they'll be excited and interest. I mean, you're singing, just bus songs, and they're singing back and all that. But definitely prayer. But number two, you love them, and you love them by spending time with them. That's also work. It's not just like you said, drop them off, and then they're done for the week and all that. You pick them up for Sunday night church. We started doing. I started just giving up on my Sundays, and we're not giving up, but just started giving my Sundays all. And what I would do is after drop the kids off, I'd have something for the teenagers, and we do teen sewing. Pop bottle drives, just stuff for the youth group to help the youth group, but basically to keep the teenagers involved. And I would keep them all Sunday, and they would be excited because, of course, we're going to go eat. So we're gonna go do something, and then we're gonna eat, and they would love that. Now you got to keep in mind, though, they're bus kids. They don't have money. A lot of them, they'll tell you they got money, and they'll tell you. So it's a lot of investment. It's a lot of investment. But, there's people that invest in Apple. There's people that invest in all this other stuff of the world. I'll go ahead and invest in bus kids. I'll go ahead and invest in them. They put $1 to this or $1 to that and savings to this. And I'll just put $1 to a cheeseburger for a bus kid, or, back then when they were $1, right?
Right.
So now we might have to split it. But anyways.
4 ways.
Yeah. But we spent all day with them on Sunday. And you bring them back to night church, and you stay excited, you stay fresh, you have fun with them. You just ignore whatever your problem, whatever you're going through, how tired you are. You put that aside, and you invest. It's just invest. I mean, that's your Wall Street. That's your investment. That's your stock market, if you may. And then you got Wednesday, and then you invite them to church Wednesday, and you try to bring them Wednesday. And you can even go more. You find interest, and they play football. Hey, when's your game? And you try to go to their games. It's like, man, if you show up to one of their games, their heart lights up. Their parents. I mean, I've been unfortunately, I've been a more court dates, the football games and all that stuff. But even that, parents wouldn't show up. They had no support. There's one bus kid I still talk to. He's been in prison for 7-8 years, and I'll show up to some of his court dates. No family.
Wow.
None. And you just invest and be there, be consistent, and love them. And by loving them, it's just being there. Think about it. Their father left them. Somebody left them in their life, and they need somebody like Jesus that'll never leave them, never forsake them. I mean, you're there. They call you. They'll text you. You text them. Nowadays you shoot them out of a text, and even some of the social media. If you're not a social media, you post stuff and you do stuff with them and all that, and you interact. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how many teenagers get excited and fired up for the Lord because they see the real thing,
right?
And that they want the real thing. So many bus workers just come and go or ignore, and they just. But if they see somebody live and excited and invest in them, then you get their attention.
Right.
So
and
that's
it really
one of the
is.
biggest things.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you're saying. If you're involved in the bus ministry for any amount of years, you're going to see that, that age when they get just. It used to be, I feel like it used to be like 14, 15, and 16, when you started to lose them. But now it's even so much younger where the world has a hold on them and they lose interest in church. And it is heartbreaking and frustrating. But you're right. You can't just give up on them. And I think making sure that you stay fresh and keep investing in their life, maybe not necessarily like beating your head against the wall, but, making your presence known, knowing that, hey, just because you're less interested in church doesn't mean I'm less interested in you, type of thing. And I guess what would feed that is a walk with God and prayer, giving you the ability, to go back to the well, I guess. And then I love what you said about you really giving up your Sundays. It's an investment. It's something that you've got to be willing to invest in. If it's going to be a good investment, it's worth something. It's not going to be easy necessarily to do, and having stuff for them to do. And keeping them invested so they're not just coming and riding on the bus and then, like you said, leaving. Rather, there's things for them to do. And that's something that really takes a lot of work on the front end. You got to stop and you got to think about those things and plan those things and have the workers and, all the red tape and things like that. But it's worth it. Even if you just reach a few, I believe it's worth it. This leads right into my last question that I was going to ask you. And, could you kind of give us, you're a very passionate person. Anybody talking to you about the bus ministry or souls can see your heart for the Lord. And what would you say, how do you stay invested in the bus ministry over the long haul, over all of these years? How do you stay with that desire to change somebody's life?
But to me, I believe it's who I am, and the Lord, I believe what He did to my family. I'll never forget Pastor Jim Portikelian. Pastor Jim Portikelian invested in my dad, and my dad was highly into gangs and murder and in and out of prison. This is before the 3-strike law came out, and I have letters and just a lot of good and bad memories of my dad in the past before he was saved. But I'll never forget Pastor Jim Portikelian. Pastor Jim Portikelian was a pastor that went to college, which was Hiles or whatever. But he was a pastor that didn't just preach on Sundays and Wednesdays and, have a visitation or soul winning program. But he was a pastor that lived it. And my mom would call him 2 a.m, 3 a.m, crying. And Pastor Jim Portikelian would go to LA, which is 30, 40 minutes where we lived, to go chase my dad at, 2, 3 a.m, and bring him back to his family. And he did that very consistently. And he would bring my dad, and my dad would come home high, drunk. And he would just tell my dad, you need to be a father, and you need to love your children. Excuse me. All the pastors that my mom has had, and make it sound like a lot, but I don't know, 4 or 5, let's just say a handful of pastors before she met Pastor Jim Portikelian said to leave my dad, divorce my dad and leave him. Pastor Jim said, let me work on him. In other words, let me love him. And because of Pastor Jim, always going out and chasing after my dad and getting my dad. For the first time, I see my dad walk down the altar, a very hard, serious convict turned into a convert. And he walked down that aisle, and he cried and got saved. And my dad wanted to make sure it's real because he's been in and out of prison. He didn't want to do the jailhouse religion, they call it, or something like that. It had to be real. And my dad was very, in and out of gangs and very young age. And anyways, long story short, because of Pastor Jim going out and reaching my dad, my dad got saved. My family completely changed. We're all saved. We're married to Christian, couples or whatever, and kids, and go to Christian school, and all that fruit is just growing, just seeing my dad. And then in my dad's last days, he prayed that God would just let him see one grandchild. My dad knew he wouldn't live long. And he said, just God, give me one grandchild. Just let me see one grandchild. And I remember my dad's deathbed, he said, he could barely talk, and he would point, and he pointed a picture of 7 grandchildren.
Wow.
And he pointed at my mom that stuck it with him through thick and thin, and he said, God is good.
Man.
And right there, I settled it and said, by the grace of God, I'm not going to give in. Mm-hmm. I'm going to love these people that are broken. I'm going to love these people that are hurt. I'm going to love these people that are desperate and that need some kind of fulfillment. I want to show them Jesus, and I want to go out there and if it's going to be at 2 or 3 in the morning, guess what? I got to work at 5. Okay, well, I'm going to go, and I'm going to love them and help them and be there for them, and I want to change the world, just like it changed my dad, because my dad was the world to me. My family's the world to me, and because of that instilled in my heart. And then, of course, God introduced me to the bus ministry and all that. And so when I see these bus kids, I see my father, or I see me, and I see someone that just having a hard time, a hard life. And if you just give them Jesus, miracle in my dad's life and my family. Man. And that's why I am who I am. And I told you a couple weeks, I wanted to quit. I've never lost control in a bus. I usually have control, and I lost control, and these kids would not stop, and I had to stop passing out candy. I sat down and I looked, and I felt like I let everybody down, like my driver, my workers, and a bus kid put his hand on my shoulder, and I said, I'm done. And I just said, I'm just done. I wasn't going to pass out candy. I said, I'm done. You guys are ungrateful, spoiled, and I just sat down. And I had a moment. This bus kid put his hand on my shoulders, and I'm holding it inside because I don't want him to see that I'm weak or whatever.
Right.
I'm holding it inside. You know me, I'm a big crybaby. And his little hand was on me, and I looked, and he said, it's okay. He said, I still love you. He said, I wasn't being bad. I said, no, not everybody's being bad, buddy. He said, you'll be all right. And his hand was just there through the whole ride. And man, I just sat there, and then afterwards went to a Chinese buffet and ate.
And re-enlisted.
Oh man. And so that just had to have a little pity party for a moment, and then just went back and said, God, I need you this Sunday. And maybe that Sunday I just forgot to ask for a little extra help. Sometimes even myself, sometimes we forget, or you go in the flesh. Yeah. And God will show you pretty soon or pretty quick you need him. So basically that's why I'm so plugged in to the bus ministry. It's all heart.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Sometimes those that you're pouring your heart into and you're investing in, sometimes they're the ones that minister to you more than you to them, right. I think. And I can remember a time, this was probably about 5 years ago or so, and it was one of those days. It was just on the bus route. It just was one of those long days, and you're kind of like just done with it. And one of the little bus kids on my route just came up to me and just out of the middle of nowhere just gave me a hug. And he was just like, he's like 5 or 6, and I just it's one of those times where it just makes you stop. and it makes you realize, puts you back in perspective of what you're doing and why you're doing it,
Right.
And I think Jude 122, and some having compassion, making a difference. I think it's important that people keep their eyes open and they look at others and they have that connection, they have that compassion for people. Sometimes I think that it's easy for those of us who have grown up in a good home, in a Christian home, who haven't had to struggle with all those difficulties and that life, to miss that and to not connect as much because of that, or be willing to give up or throw in the towel. But I think if we dig a little deeper, and of course our relationship with the Lord, but make a difference in somebody's life, make an investment. Look at those who've had, and all of us have investment made in us. And, too much is given, much shall be required. So
Right.
That's tremendous, brother. Thank you very, very much for coming on the channel. Everything that you said was a blessing. It even helped me. So I hope it's a help to anybody else who's watching this. If you can like and subscribe if you haven't, I would appreciate it. And Brother Perez, is there a way, what's a good way if somebody wants to get a hold of you? Is there social media, Twitter? I guess it's not even called Twitter anymore. Email, your social security number, anything you want to give out?
Meet me at the China Buffet corridor.
That's great.
No, there's Twitter, but or whatever it's called now. It's Eric Michigan. I don't know, twitter.com or whatever. But then I don't even care of getting out my cell phone number. I mean, if you want it, I don't care. Did I do that?
You can if you want, or if you want to, you can reach out to the channel, and then I can connect you guys. That's a good way that way, because this is going to go out live or go out to everybody. So, but yeah, perfect. Though I will put a link as well in the description or in the chat somewhere to your Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days, so that people can get a hold of you if they have any questions or anything like that. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Thank you, Brother Perez, for being on the channel. Please like and subscribe, and tell a friend, come back and watch again. And like always, keep the buses rolling.